Danielle was super skeptical at first because, like you said, we have never been less healthy.
Every living being is regenerating new cells all the time.
Just because you haven't heard of it, don't dismiss it.
So before we kick off, could you tell my viewers a little bit about yourself and your passion for holistic health?
Sure. And it actually came about in a funny way. I grew up in Virginia. Like Danielle, I went to the University of Virginia, and at the time I was studying languages and realized my last year I didn't want to do anything with languages. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And computers were just coming into being. We didn't have personal computers, there was no internet, nothing like that. I'm dating myself big time, but
I'm with you there. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
But computer languages were being taught at UVA. So I took the languages, programming, because to me it was just another language. And when I got out, I actually went into the field of IT before it was a field, because they were looking for math majors, language majors, and music majors. And I did that for a few years, but it just wasn't speaking to my soul. I had my two children, Danielle and her sister, and was fortunate enough to be able to stay home. And that's kind of when I dipped my toe into being an entrepreneur. I started a consulting firm where I could still do computer things, but while I was raising my daughters. And at the end of college, I had a major back surgery. My back was fused, and at first it was fine, but after having kids and as I was moving through life, I started to have some significant health challenges with my back and all my other joints, because this from being in health. Anytime you fuse a part of your body, other parts of your body have to compensate.
Absolutely.
And so I started to have chronic issues, which I dealt with swimming. And then one of the people I was working with, an osteopath, told me to try yoga. And I had never done yoga. Again, this was before yoga was as popular as it is now. It was not in any gyms. There were maybe one or two studios in a 30-minute radius. And I tried it. I was very fortunate because my very first teacher was all about therapeutics and really helped my back. And as I started to take these classes, I became fascinated by the whole idea, not just yoga, the physical yoga, but the whole philosophy behind it. This idea that, the body could heal itself, and mind, body, spirit. That was totally foreign to me. My dad was a Western trained physician, and that was kind of the world I had grown up in. Although I had kind of explored aromatherapy and some Ayurveda on my own, this was really the first time that I was learning these age-old, many thousand-year-old traditions that talk about how intelligent the body is, if you will. And so I decided to dive into it. I actually became a yoga teacher. I opened my own yoga studio in Annapolis, Maryland. And we focused a lot on therapeutics and therapy. Because of that, and this all ties back into ASEA, everything in life happens, right, for a reason when it happens, and it kind of comes back around, which I love. Ultimately, I sold my studio and started to work. I partnered with a college and brought my trainings there and started to teach a lot of stress awareness workshops, because I think even now, you and I both know stress. We always hear stress is a killer, but I think we hear it so much, people, it just kind of doesn't really sink in what that really means and how stress really impacts our lives and can set the stage for a lot of health challenges in the future, things that are brewing beneath the surface that you don't even realize until they become something. Yeah. And one of the teachings in some of the yogic philosophy that I had studied and teach is something called, stress-producing mental tendencies. So a lot of my workshops were about these stress-producing mental tendencies. So it was really a lot of fun doing that. And about that time, I had gone back to get a master's, and that is when Danielle was hit by a drunk driver. So all of these things that I had been doing played such a key role in helping her with her journey, because I had this huge list of people, these practitioners who could help me try to find modalities that might help her. And as many of your viewers probably know, because you have had her on a number of times, we tried so many things. I mean, we were doing yoga nidra a lot. We were doing different modalities with acupuncture and neurobiofeedback and all these different things. And some of the modalities helped a little, but it never helped in a way that gave her life back fully, where she could live fully. You know, some of the things that she was dealing with, and I'll never forget after the first year, the neurologist telling us that, you know, get used to her new normal, that her brain has done all its healing. And to this day, I'm just astounded that someone would say that.
Yeah.
Number one, would say it to anyone, but to a 24-year-old who's got her life ahead of her, you know, because we know there's so much with hope and mindset, all of that plays into you being able to heal. And so at that time, you know, she was still sleeping 18, 20 hours a week. She was still having trouble with finding words. Her personality had changed. She still had significant migraines, anxiety, depression, you know, all these things. So I kept looking, and it was actually 2 years after her accident, still teaching, still in school, that one of my students, it was actually a yoga nidra student who was an acupuncturist, who told us about ASEA. And so it always fascinates me because no one had heard of ASEA. My dad had not heard of ASEA. And as I look back at these three, call them career paths, if you will, I have to smile because I've always been fortunate enough to be like right on the cutting edge of a new technology. You know, I was in IT before they even had computer science majors, you know, starting in yoga before yoga was everywhere. And ASEA, before most people know about ASEA. So many people, I'm sure you've had the same thing. Well, why doesn't my doctor know about it? But what all of that taught me is that just because you haven't heard of it, don't dismiss it.
Now, for people that are sitting on the fence, that have like, yeah, I've heard this, but I've heard so many miracle cures, you know, every person is talking about their miracle cure, their miracle supplement. What would you say to people that have got that mindset? Because I completely get it, because there is so much out there.
There is a lot out there. And a couple of things, depending on what it is that is causing their hesitancy. If it's, you know, because it sounds too good to be true, look at the research. You know, there's so much research now that wasn't there before, whether it is the research done specifically on ASEA's redox molecules or just in the field of redox. This is a huge medical and scientific field, and literally millions of papers have been written about it. So sometimes you have to connect the dots, because the papers that are written aren't on ASEA specifically, a few are, but most of them are the research being done on redox in the body and with different diseases or with different things. And so once you see that all this research is being done, and then you understand that what's inside the blue bottle is redox molecules, you can just kind of start connecting the dots. So if that's the reason that you're on the fence, absolutely go out there and research. And the person that you're hearing this from, and Catherine certainly has, we have a lot of resources that you can look at. You know, if it's because there's so many other things out there and you're doing all these different things, just remember that what's happening at the molecular level sits below everything else. You know, when Danielle had her brain injury, she was on probably $500 worth of supplements a month.
Yeah.
Were they doing anything? Maybe. You know, nothing that we could see. It wasn't mitigating any symptom that we could see. Maybe it was helping her adrenals, but that was not something that we could see that was allowing her to be vibrant again and live back in the world again. And so even though those were prescribed to us and they were supposed to be doing good things, we didn't notice anything. And I think people are taking a lot of different things that they may or may not know if they work. So this sits below nutrition. It sits below supplements. This is literally how the body speaks to the immune system, how the cells talk to each other, how the cells know what they are. You know, how does a brain cell know it's a brain cell? How does it know what enzymes to produce, et cetera? That conversation is going on all the time. And I think when you understand that this is why this is so different, I would invite you to try this. You have nothing to lose. It's one of the only things out there that can't hurt you because it's already in you. And I think that's another thing that makes it a little bit different. You just have to take that leap of faith. You know, for me, just intuitively, I trusted the person that brought it to me. I did not do a lot of research initially because I knew I had that trust with the person. It wasn't until I started to see results and my husband started to see results that we started doing a little bit of research. And then once Danielle had that recovery, we were like, what have we come across? And that's when we really kind of dove into more the science, if you will.
Yes.
But if you're on the fence, think about what it is you're looking for. You know, are you looking to be proactive with your health? Are you looking because you have a health challenge? Are you looking for someone else? And then it really is, Catherine. It's a leap of faith. This company would not be around for 13 years if there wasn't a lot to this.
Yes.
There are 5 Nobel Prizes that have been awarded in redox research. And I think part of the hesitancy with people on the fence is because no one's heard of the term redox, or very few people have. It is
also, do you think, Lynn, because it's so difficult, we're so limited because it's not a pharmaceutical product, everyone watching this, luckily my listeners are very well educated on this, but they know that you're so limited about what you can actually say and how you can say it. So it's really hard for people. But I agree with everything you said. And as someone that I love essentials. I've got over 200 essentials here. I love herbs. I love clays. I love grounding. I love light therapy. I love all these different healing modalities, frequency healing. However, this is so foundational because if at a cellular level, the beauty of every living thing, not just humans, but not forgetting our animals, our plants, every living being is regenerating new cells all the time. And unfortunately, for most of us who are living in the modern world, we are subjected to a lot of challenges on an ongoing basis, which is why, for me, this is a lifestyle change about taking back the power, because it's not something you take for 1 or 2 months and then say problem sorted, because the next day more cells are dying off and more replacing. And are you still being subjected to those challenges? If so, we need to give our bodies that helping hand to sort of keep up with those. And the one thing I love is there's been so much talk over the last few years about sovereignty, about taking your power back. When your physical body is back in balance, you can make so much better lifestyle decisions for yourself. And I know that to be true because I've worked with so many people and animals over the last 30 years to see just how different, you mentioned sleep, your physical health. When you haven't got that, it impacts every area of your life and your family's life. We are in a time now where we have to take responsibility for ourselves. No one else is going to do it for us. We know that we've been led down a little bit of a misleading path because, look at where Western medicine has actually got us. We're the unhealthiest as a species, and all our pets are the most unhealthy with the shortest lifespan that they've ever had. And, sometimes it's looking at that good self-assessment and not blaming yourself, but saying, yeah, but now I'm going to take responsibility for myself.
Absolutely.